Hello, everyone. I'm so grateful to the American Migraine Foundation for this opportunity to talk about migraine in the workplace. It breaks my heart to see migraine interferes with the lives of so many. I'm Dr. Olivia Begasse De Dhaem, a headache fellow in Boston, which means I'm a board-certified neurologist who is doing 1 year specialization in the diagnosis and management of headaches. Today, we will cover the scale of the issue of lost productivity due to migraine, the laws on disability and reasonable accommodations, how to advocate for yourself to your headache provider and to your boss. Then we'll discuss tips to deal with migraine in the workplace. I'll speak for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then there'll be ample time to discuss any questions, comments, feedback you may have. First, let's discuss the scale of the issue of lost productivity due to migraine. Migraine feels so isolating. However, you are not alone. Migraine is the second most disabling condition worldwide and in the US. For ages 15 to 49, migraine is the most disabling condition. 3/4 of lost productivity due to migraine is due to presenteeism. Presenteeism is pushing through and coming to work despite not feeling well and not being able to be as productive as you normally would. 25% of productivity loss in the US is due to presenteeism, and the second most common cause of presenteeism in the US after allergies is migraine. Speaking with you today is so important for me because I think we can change those numbers through treatment optimization and advocacy. Now we cover the scale of the issue about the lost productivity due to migraine in the workplace. Let's talk about laws about disability and reasonable accommodation. It's important for you to know your rights so you can better advocate for yourself and for other people with migraine. In 1990, the Americans with Disability Act stated equal rights for employment for people with disability and rights for reasonable accommodation in the workplace. Its amendment in 2008 stated that episodic disorders that substantially limit ability to work when active can be considered disability, which would make migraine a disability. In August 2019, Social Security Disability recognized migraine as a potential disability. However, Social Security Disability does not recognize patient-reported symptoms. They require objective data when applying for disability. Objective data for migraine includes normal brain MRI, a headache diary, reported symptoms and signs not by the headache sufferer, but by the headache clinician or a third party. The signs lists include difficulty concentrating, difficulty remembering, face swelling, red eyes, runny nose, nasal congestion, droopy eyelids, persistent headache despite optimal management, need to be in a quiet, dark room. And then there's also the FMLA, which is Family and Medical Leave Act, which acts as a short-term disability and can also be used intermittently for when you have to miss a work day due to a migraine. Now we cover the scale of the issue of lost productivity due to migraine and your rights and the laws about disability and reasonable accommodation. Let's discuss how to advocate for yourself to your headache provider. Headache providers are trained into diagnosing and managing headaches. So I'm not trained in reasonable accommodation, pain low, pain right. So although they'll try to optimize your headaches as much as possible, it's sometimes hard to visualize how your headache translates to work difficulties for you. Then it's important to come prepared to discuss those issues with your headache provider so you can optimize your treatment and get someone to advocate for you to get reasonable accommodation in the workplace. How do you come prepared to your headache appointment? It's important to keep a headache diary, a list of the medication you are taking. It is so helpful if you could list your essential work function and how migraine interferes with those work functions. In a perfect world, what would be your work environment so you could be as productive as possible? With this information, you and your headache provider can have an educated discussion as to how to optimize your headache management. And then you'll have an advocate for you. Your headache provider can write you a letter, talk with your boss to optimize your headache and your work condition for you to be as happy and productive as possible in the workplace. We usually use disability application as a last resort because most people who go to disability never make it back to the workplace. And this can be multifactorial. But one of the reasons is that when you remove stimulus that can trigger headaches, and you get even more sensitive to it when you go back to that workplace. That's why we try to keep it last resort. So now we discuss the scale of the issues, your right about disability and reasonable accommodation, how to discuss this issue with your headache provider. Let's discuss how to discuss this with your boss. That's probably the toughest part because there's so much stigma about headache and migraine in the workplace and in the world. Headache has a bad connotation, it's associated with frustration. So it's important to stay calm and not get emotional. Schedule a meeting with your boss and calmly explain the issue with your boss. Most people don't understand migraine and don't understand headache, the severity of the pain, the associated symptoms, the feeling off, the vision changes, the dizziness, the inability to think right. So people don't know that. So it's important to just calmly open the discussion and explain to your boss how migraine interferes with your essential work function and what reasonable accommodation you may need to be able to be more productive. It will be in your boss' advantage to improve your happiness and productivity and efficiency at work. Examples of reasonable accommodation include reduction of light, reduction of smell, noise, position of your workspace, regular breaks, no shift work, flexible time. There can be many others, but these are some ideas, and if you have other ideas, please put them in the comments so everybody could benefit. Then sometimes the stress at work comes from your boss, and sometimes the nature of your work make it so that you cannot get reasonable accommodation. That's the reality of life. That's why it's important to discuss tips to deal with migraine in the workplace. Migraine has intermittent attacks, but it's a chronic disorder. Hence, all the tips to deal with migraine in the workplace are most helpful if practiced daily. First, if you do computer work, posture is so important for headache and for your neck care. I put some images behind me, and those are actually in the slides. I made some summary slides for this lecture with a picture, so you can see those pictures better on the slides. And I also put some free references and resources in those slides. But it's important to be sitting at your desk with a straight back and hips and knees at 90-degree angle. The center of your computer screen should be within 20 degrees of the level of your eye. Why is straight back and good posture so important? Because if you scooch forward, if you sit straight, the weight of your head is evenly distributed on all the vertebrae. Actually, let's try this. On all the vertebrae, when it's straight, the weight of your head is evenly distributed on all the vertebrae below it. However, if you scooch forward, all the vertebrae get proportionately more weight from your head. And that puts so much pressure and tension on the muscles in the back of your neck. And what goes through the muscles in the back of your neck? Your occipital nerves, which are also involved in migraine pathway and other pains. Posture, very important. If it's hard for you to adjust your posture at work, this is one of your rights of reasonable accommodation to get a better workspace and also being able to dim the lights around your computer and lights of your computer. Neck care is very important, and it takes just a few minutes every day, or you can do some neck stretching and range of motion exercises. It can be difficult for patients with migraine because sometimes it makes you dizzy, but often with daily practice, the dizziness tends to become milder. You can lay down on your back, in your bed, or on your couch, and slowly move your head laterally from one side to the other side. Then you can lay back down on your belly and just relax your head, relax your shoulders, let everything drop, and slowly roll forward. And some people also use massage machine or massage or heat packs, but neck care is very important. Another tip for dealing with migraine in the workplace is regular schedule. And by schedule, I mean regular break time, regular meal time, lunch time, sleep. Migraine brain doesn't like changes. Hydration. Hydration is so important. However, if you stress over how much you are drinking, how many water bottles, that just cause more stress. So a good rule, I think, is to drink enough water, so you have to use a restroom every few hours. That way you don't have to count how much water you're drinking. And you need to have access to water and restroom at work. If you don't, that's something to discuss with your boss too. My favorite, not letting stress cause more headache, which is difficult and take daily practice, in my opinion. But if you practice at home in a relaxed environment every day, some ways to quickly reach a peace of mind, it will come faster and faster and easier. And when things escalate at work, which will inevitably happen sometimes, you can just go back to this peace of mind pretty quickly. What do people use? It doesn't matter what people use, and I think you can try different ways to reach there. You can just try and see what works best for you. People use mindfulness, mindful drawing, yoga, stretching, cardiac coherent breathing, rhythmic breathing, meditation, self-hypnosis. The list is so long, it doesn't matter, as long as you find what works for you. Some people listen to some rhythm to get to it, and in the slides there is a name of an app, Breathe to Relax, with free rhythm. To breathe, some people use guided imagery. You can make your own guided imagery, or you can get inspiration from the link in my slides too. You can just make one based on what you like doing. If you like hiking, you can think about your favorite hike. Think about the feeling of the wind on your skin, about the noise of the dry leaves as you walk in the forest. Think about all the different shapes and colors of the leaf that contrast with the dark bark of the tree because it rained a few days prior. And just fill your lungs with the cold, humid air of the forest and breathe. And if you like swimming, you can imagine yourself floating and watching the waves. You can listen to some relaxing music too, and then when you're at work, you can listen to the same music to get there. And some people close their eye on the workstation, some people go to the restroom, some people go to the staircase, just to reach that peaceful state of mind, so you block stress from causing more headache at work when things escalate. If you have other tips to deal with migraine in the workplace you would like to share, please put them in the comments so anyone could benefit. Okay, so we discussed the scale of the issue of lost productivity due to migraine. We discussed the laws about reasonable accommodation and disability. We discussed how to advocate for yourself to your headache provider and to your boss, and we discussed some tips for dealing with migraine in the workplace. It's such a pleasure and honor to speak with you. I hope this was helpful, and I'm happy to answer any questions or discuss any comments or feedback.